Color finishing, color finishing. I need somebody to flip my slide. I'm doing my happy dance. I have no idea why.
Rule 1.
Rule 1, first thing, back up one. I'm sorry, you went too fast, didn't you? Yeah, but first, I promised you last time I was here, the 7 rules of sanding. You got to sand this stuff before you finish it. Next one, please. The first rule is we can't see in the dark. You got to put a bright incandescent light behind here, behind your work. And it shows in and shows the scratches. And the scratches are what you're trying to eliminate to, or tool marks. Next one, please. We do not need dust, we need air. So what you got to do is you got to protect your lungs. You're going to have to use vacuums, fans, or whatever it takes. But I'm telling you, you don't want to be inhaling dust. I've seen too many people with lung problems later on in life who were wood turners. Next, please. This is what I do. This is my shop. I have fans, 1, 2, 3 here. I also have one here blowing this direction. In the back I have a vacuum, and up here there's one of those little lights, you can't see it all, but it's one of the lights that I have on. I built a rail system over the lathe so that I can come out anywhere I want to with that light and see the scratches. It's very, very important. I only turn when it's warm. I do other things when it's cold. That way I can, that's all right, stay there, it's okay. I have air flowing through and I don't have any dust. If I get something that's really, really dusty, I put a mask on. Most of the time I can stand right here and nothing touches me. Most of the chips even fly over because of the 5 fans I have. If you want to, try this. Take a fan, put a frame on it, put a filter on it, and crank up about 5 or 6 of them all around. And you can suck up a lot of the dust. That's the way David Ellsworth does. Ellsworth works in the basement about the size of that little closet back there, and he has these fans that suck up the air. It helps. Okay, next please. Also, that went too far. Yeah, sandpaper is a cutting tool. Keep it sharp, keep it clean. Throw it away when it gets dull. Don't use worn out grits. 120 sandpaper worn out is not the same as 220. And people do it. Don't do it. Look at sandpaper under a microscope. It's got little pyramids. They get worn off. Okay, they're cutters. And it doesn't matter what the problem is that if you don't keep those little stuff in between the cuts clean and you don't use fresh, you case harden. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Get 5 or 6 of these things and have them laying around. Okay? And they're little crepe rubber things. And even when you're working with just a piece, you can take them and knock a lot of the dust off of them. And it lengthens the life of this incredibly, okay? These don't cost that much. Next, please. Next. Repair the surface with as coarse and abrasive as necessary to do the job. What that means is, the whole idea of sandpaper is to refine the original scratches or tool marks and refine them down to where there's not any scratches. That's what you're trying to do. And it makes no sense to brag about, oh, start with 180. And you'll set and crank with 180 sandpaper and case harden the bowl when you could have started with 60 and done it in 8 minutes and been on your way. Okay? I know a lot of people that do that. Don't do it. Start with as coarse as you need to take the scratches out. Nobody's looking anyway. Next. Sand through all the progressively finer grits without skipping. Start at 80, go to 100, 120, right on up the line. I could sit here for 30 minutes and tell you about when I used to work for General Electric aircraft engine. I took classes and classes and classes on abrasives and how to use them. And over again, the studies prove that you've got to skip incrementally. Okay, you can't see them, they're there. But it's one of the reasons that later on down the line, if you'll put a light back here, you'll find if you start skipping grits, you're going to have scratches you can't get out. And that's why, and you've got to go back a step. Next, please. Remove all the scratches before proceeding to the next level. Okay? Slow down. Sand it. Okay? As you sand, get some chalk. Go down, get your kid to do it, or get a nephew or somebody, or a grandkid. Go down and buy this sidewalk chalk. Sam Maloof taught me the virtues of this chalk. I was crawling around with Sam on the floor. We were drawing diagrams and stuff. He uses this stuff by the ton, and so do I. I use it for everything when I start off with wood to mark and make notes on it about different stuff. But also, whenever you're working with this stuff and you get a scratch, boom, you put a mark on that scratch. And you can sit and you can knock down all those scratches. Then as you sand, what happens is immediately this goes away, and what's left is a little mark where the scratch is. And you don't have to think anymore. You just have to sit there and sand. Listen to Slim Whitman or something. And you sit there and you sand, and when that pink is gone, the scratch is gone. Okay? Next one, please. 7. Slow is good and slower is even better. There's a tendency to go way, way too fast. I'm going to tell you, if you're holding sandpaper, and I've seen guys do it, and put gloves on with pads and sit there like this to protect their hands because the sandpaper's hot, you're going too fast. Slow down. Okay? If you're working with power sanding, that's fine. Don't crank this up to 3,000 and then run one at 5,000. Okay, all you're going to do is you're going to loosen up the grit, you're going to wear this out faster, and you're not going to do a good job. You're going to put swirls in it you'll never get out. Okay? Trust me. Go slow, spend a little more time. Next, please. So, you got to see, you got to breathe, you got to take those, start at a coarse grit, you got to work up incrementally. And you got to go slow. You don't proceed until the scratches appear to be gone with the grit that you're working on. Put the light back on, you'll see additional scratches, you go to the next grit, okay? Next, please. Coloring, finishing, and buffing. Coloring. One of the quickest ways to color a piece of wood is with stain, wood stain. I don't use it for turnings because it lays on top or it goes into pores and it's hard to control. Another one is fire. Next one, please. My good friend Doug Fisher did this. He turned it, then he carved it, then he put, I think, kerosene on it and set it on fire and watched it burn for a little bit. Then he got a brush and he brushed it off. He finished the carving, dyed in here, did this with a Dremel, and then fired it again, and then rubbed it off with sandpaper. And it's a fabulous piece. I tried to talk him out of it, he wouldn't do it. Next. Okay, so wood stains, fire. The next one is metal mixtures. Not too long ago I made a coffee table for my son. He wanted it to look like a pier. He wanted it to look gray and all that sort of stuff. Well, man, I ain't got no barnwood laying around on the barn, on the outhouse, but on that. Anyway, the deal is I just used regular conventional yellow pine. I sat and I mixed, this is an old thing that my grandfather taught me, vinegar and steel wool. You put it in a little container, shake it up, it starts turning gray. You can take that water out, you can put it on and it grays wood instantly. Okay? It's okay. It's okay. But the most dependable and the thing that I use is dyes. Next, please. Dyes. There are natural dyes. People use blackberries, wine, boiled walnut husk, that sort of thing. And you note that I put the word setting out here. I'm going to tell you what that is in a minute. The other thing is that you can use food dyes. Okay, the little things that you see in the little bottles, you can do that. It colors wood, but it won't set. And finally, RIT dye. You'll see people using RIT, fabric dye. It won't set unless the temperature goes way up. It's got to be really, really hot. That's why they use really, really hot and wash water to do it. But Anilines is the ticket. Next, please. Aniline dyes. What is setting? The ability to soak in and dry. And more importantly, not fade. Not fade because of UV or light. Okay? And anilines pass the test. Next, please. Aniline dyes were discovered in the early 1800s. There was a scientist searching for a replacement for blue dye, indigo. Indigo was being shipped from India. It cost a fortune. And they were making, in America, we were making cloth made out of cotton, same stuff as material in jeans. And there was a little company formed called Levi Strauss. And they were making overalls and blue jeans for people going west. And you could make them out of plain old white cotton cloth, but it didn't go very well. So they convinced people that if it was blued, that it was stronger and better. It was one of their early things. Okay, but you had to blue it. We blew it with indigo, and it was too expensive. So this guy started working with cotton cloth, trying to replace blue, and he used coal tar. And coal tar, with mixed up and heated, and then he added benzene and some other chemicals. And what he did was he made a bright blue ink that he could use on the cloth, and it caught fire, and they just went everywhere with it. And that's where all the blue jeans and all that sort of stuff, that's why they're called blue jeans. Okay? The old dyes faded. They didn't now, so you put the benzene next. Because of the benzene content, benzene is a terrible, terrible poison. Dyes are poisonous. Okay? I don't know if anything will eat them like a cat or dog. I don't try. I keep them sealed away and put away. I suggest you do the same thing. I also suggest that you're going to see me I work with them, I put rubber gloves on. It's sold in pouches, or they're little plastic pouches, and it looks like a powder. It is just a little powder. You'll also see them in little bottles in a powder. They're usually sold at about an ounce. And the trans tint ones, you see them in a liquid like this. Okay? They're either alcohol or water-based. Sometimes they're either one that you choose. Sometimes they're specifically alcohol. Sometimes they're specifically water. Okay? I use water. All right? It can be sprayed on, wiped on, and usually these little ounce packets, which is what these are 2 ounces actually, make 2 quarts. 2 quarts of dye is a ton of dye. Next, please. What I do is when I mix them and I store them, I use the water base, like I said. You mix them with warm water, pouch, and I make a pint at a time. So I go down to Walmart and I get these little pint jars. I pour half of it in there, a little less than half of the package, and that's what I use to mix up the dyes. You'll see it right here, okay? And those then you can tighten down and you can put them away. You should store them where it's dark and cool. Basement's perfect, okay? Now, keep in mind, it dyes everything. Concrete, the epoxy paint, the steel, it'll get on you, it will dye you, okay? So you gotta be careful, you gotta take your time with it, okay? All right, next please. But it looks cool, okay? I made that bow, I put a red dye on it, then I sanded it, and this pattern came out, and I went over and I got some yellow and put the yellow on it. It looks like flame, and I called it Flame Dancer. The first lady who saw it bought it. I wish I'd raised the price. Okay, it's now living in Iowa, all right? But you can make some nice stuff. Next, please. If you mix up some blues and blacks, you can end up with something like that. That's called the blue waterfall. Okay, a little bit of green in there, black and blue. Next, please. Again, my friend Doug Fisher. Where's Mr. Pettibone? Where is he? Oh, there he is. You know that piece you got up there that blew apart? This one blew apart. And he sort of put it back together, and then he used a piece of stone to hold it at the bottom, and he made a cap at the top. It was pretty cool. But I asked him, I said, that blew apart? And he said, no. Anyway, then what he did was, after he did that, he carved this, and he put a nice red and yellow dye on there, made an orange, and put it on there. Okay, next please. Dyes can be layered. You can start with a darker color, and you can go to light, or vice versa. You can sand in between, or you can work with water, and finally you can let it go. Why don't you have a seat a second, and I'll do this and show it to them. Now, I suggest that you apply this at about, how fast does lathe go?
3,200.
About 3,200. No. Well, he's moving already. If I can have trouble with my glove here.
Bring the shield in, didn't
No, we didn't. It's okay. Trust me. I'm a professional. Okay. What you do is you go down and you buy some paper towels. Now, go down to Walmart. I'm gonna pass this around because this is kind of important.
We might need it here.
Yeah, you might. Buy the paper towels with that pattern. I think those are the cheapest ones you can get, aren't they? Yeah. And anyway, but they're also among the best. And here's what you do, okay? You take, see they have the little small sheets, that's why I get them, and they're real absorbent. You fold it over double, you fold it over double again, and you fold it over double again. That's all there is to it. Right? Do I need to repeat that? Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay. When you make the dies, okay, and I keep them in here, I pour them into these little guys here, okay, coming at you. Okay, pass it around. I get these over at the Walmart, at Sam's. They're made to put ketchup and stuff in, okay. Then I just use a little wire nut at the top, and it keeps them, I don't know, these have been in there about a year, okay. And then I use them out of this, okay? That's the first thing. What you don't want to do is you don't want to have a bowl here dipping this stuff in, because you know where it's going to go? I know, because I have red all down the front of my one way. All right. So you go on a very, 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 very slow speed, okay? Really, okay?
That's slow.
This slow, right here. That's all you need, okay? And you apply it, take your little lid off, and I kind of double this up.
If it's not dangerous, Les, how come you're in reverse there?
I'm always in reverse, okay? And you just put it on here like this. Nope, this is just raw wood right now. 4,000. No, I never go past 320. Okay? Now, you can do that. You can also, if you're careful, well, you guys are lucky this time. Okay? And you just keep doing that. I want to sand that in just a little bit. Yeah. Now, if you're lucky, you can put that in there like that and it'll stay in there. See how that's staying in there? Okay. Yeah, it's a good thing, or you'd be definitely a maroon color. Okay. And I didn't ask you about a trash can, but I need one. Anyway, this dries real quick. Now, I wasn't real thorough about this. There's some little white spot stuff. I don't care right now. I'm just trying to show you how we work this, okay? And I actually don't think this is even going to dust up, so, but just in case. Now, it's a little cooler in here. If I was out working in the shop, that would be dry now, okay? All right, so I'm going to push it a little bit. I don't care. But anyway, usually what I do is you start off with 2 or 3 or 4 colors if you want to. You start off usually with a darker color. You try to put a mating color. Get yourself one of those little color wheels. So if you're using a red, you probably want to go with a yellow or maybe a purple. If you're working with a blue, maybe a green. You know, fiddle around with it a little bit. If you're going to use black, don't buy the dyes. Go down to Walmart and get yourself some black ink. It works a whole lot better than anything else, okay? Now, let's see what we can do here. I'm just going to work on that a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit sturdier. I thought I might have to. And I'm just going to knock off that a little bit. It will leave it on your sandpaper. And I am getting a little bit of dust if you want to turn that vacuum on, because I'm sure Dale would appreciate it. That's good. Perfect. Now, how much you take off, it's up to you. I've done these where I just hardly took off any and it was great. I've done them where I've taken them right back down to bare wood except for a little bit, okay? What I'm looking for though, sorry, should have warned you, is a few spots that are bare. Okay, see I have them now? Okay? I'm gonna go with the yellow. I'm gonna do the same thing. Make my little pad. You don't have to wipe it off. Slowly again. And see what happens? Now that may not be a keeper, but I want you to get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. Okay? All of a sudden you can bring in your lights and darks. Put them in here. Again, usually I can get away with this. Oh, sorry. A little bit too much. I didn't get it on the floor though, did I? All right, boy, I'm lucky. I don't know if I'll try that in a demonstration again. Okay, now. Did I get it on you really? Sorry, Dale. Yeah.
If you're using water-based, don't you raise the grain?
Yep. Now, my last demo, I talked about that. What I do is by the way, I'm gonna put a little bit of water on it now. 1 second, I'll answer that. Yeah, you do. What I do is on everything that I do, right before when I do my final sanding, I spray water on it, and I let the grain raise, and then I sand it off. That way, the next time whenever I put this dye on, it doesn't raise as much, but it still does. Now, the reason I use water is because now I can take off what I want. You see how it's looking here on the edge? Again, it's not a stellar piece, but you get the idea. I don't care if David Ellsworth taught me something. It doesn't matter if you're in a class and you make something good. What matters is that you learn how to make something good. And by the way, if you're ever in a class with him and you walk up and hold a bowl up and say, "Isn't this great?" You know what he'll do with it? He'll go to a bandsaw and cut it in 2 pieces to show you whether or not you were doing something right or wrong. I never had it happen, but I heard a lot about it. Now, okay, now you get the idea? See, I'm starting to get some stuff here that's kind of pretty, and I would probably go back over this again with a red to tone this down. But the important is, see these marks in here? If I see how that is? Can y'all see that or not? I don't know. Anyway, the point is, if I had this right now, I would go back and sand it some more, and I'd try to get some of that red off, and I'd end up with just like I did with Flame Dancer again. Okay? Now, that's one way to do it. Here's another. From this point on, I was using 100 there to knock it off, and I would go ahead and go up in increments a little bit, and then I would probably clean it up with maybe just touching it with 400 a little bit. Okay. What you can do is you can do this, just enough to let it dribble. Okay, I'm not going to do that very much because I'm going to get it all over his chuck. But anyway, you get the idea there. You see that? Okay. So what you can do is you can just let it dribble on there, and it looks real cool when you do that. Okay? Now, you can also take it off the lathe and set it and just dribble it. Let it dry and then put another color, and you can get all these colors. Now, the one that I was calling the blue waterfall, that's the way that's done. You sit up there and you put black and blues, and then it really is a crapshoot. You really just kind of play with it, and happy accidents, occur. That's what you want, okay? Okay.
These guys are sitting on the surface or going deep into?
No, that is important, and I'm glad you asked that. They go way, way in, okay? Way in as compared to stains. They go way in. If you let them soak in, they will go way in, about 1/8 of an inch, okay? And so that's one of the reasons I was fiddling around there talking with that one, and I should have been a little quicker on that one, sanding it, and it would have been a little easier to clean up. And that's really all there is to it. The rest of it is just your ingenuity and what you want to do, okay? Quick questions? Anything?
I do.
Yeah.
Can you mix a purple?
Yes.
I brought in a show and tell piece. Can you
Yeah.
explain how you mix colors? With the,
Yep. And I'm glad you said that. I was using a lot of cherry, and I was using a lot of maple. The best thing to do, I'll pass these around. I got my table saw, and I put a little kerf in each one, and I started getting dyes, and I'd try them with different strengths and make a little storyboard to get an idea of what I needed. And then I keep these around, and when I want to do something, I say, I want this, I want this, I want a turquoise. Okay? And that way you can pick out your colors. If you do a lot of mixing, you better get you a book out and write the formulas down, recipes down, or you won't be able to recreate it later. And I assure you, what will happen is somebody will want this red. It's actually an orange. And they may get this one. See, they're different. You see that?
does that also have can it be attributed to the type of grain in different woods?
Yes.
What color you get?
Yes. Underneath cherry changes. That's why I made one out of cherry. Only thing I ever stain or dye, not stain, but dye is a cherry or maple. Okay. I did a chair once, a full rocking chair with walnut that had to be dyed black because that was what the customer wanted. And I went, the whole time.
I guess my question though was,
Yeah.
soft maple is just a little bit different.
Yes. And it can be. And that's why you make the storyboard.
Okay.
Yeah, you really should. If you're only going to make one piece, go to town and make the piece. But inherently what happens is you go, well, that's okay. That's all right. And then you sell it, and then somebody says, I saw this piece you made. You called it Flame Dancer. I want 4 of them. And you go, I don't know. And so the best thing to do is what I do is these are standard colors for me. And so when I do something like this, I record this guy, give it a name and a number, and I've got a book and I record how I did it. Okay? Okay?